while we are recording this podcast, the Pittsburgh Steelers get some pretty big breaking news in the cornerback department. The Steelers are reportedly, according to Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Jerry Dulac, set to meet with cornerback Cam Sutton today and sign him to a one-year deal for a veteran minimum. We came into this podcast talking about, well, Cam Sutton's not going to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers because he's put his house up on the market, and that means that he's done. That has changed. He is back in the city of Pittsburgh. The Steelers get a slot corner or an outside corner, really just a veteran guy who could come in here with plenty of starting experience that the Steelers loved when he was here, a veteran leader. Your reaction, you're just learning this the same time I'm learning this live on the show. Your reaction to Cam Sutton coming back to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I guess Cam must be buying a nicer house somewhere, I guess, with his new contract. Wow.
His vet minimum contract.
Yeah, hey, it's not chump change.
No, but $1 million is $1 million.
But yeah, that's pretty surprising, man. I didn't see that coming. I wasn't ready for it, but that's a pretty massive upgrade. I mean, we had talked pretty much all during OTAs about how none of these slot options were really impressing any of us. And I guess I don't know, it seems like we had a pretty good beat on what the Steelers front office and the coaching staff was thinking, because they don't seem to be very impressed with the Steelers cornerback situation either, at least at the slot position. That's where I'd have to imagine Cam Sutton plays, where he, plays most of this year. I assume it'll still be Dante Jackson on the outside. It'll still be Joey Porter on the other side, obviously. And then you got your full secondary there. I mean, that's a pretty massive hole to fill. Probably the last hole that you have to worry about. I think the only remaining domino that kind of has to fall is, okay, is Cole Holcomb healthy? And do you have, enough backup defensive linemen to make it work? And, quite honestly, those are minor things in the grand scheme of things. Like the Steelers found their last starter, I guess you could say. Like,
yes,
you filled your last starting position with Cam Sutton, and you did it at a pretty high level. I think Cam Sutton, can still really play. The situation is really good. He knows the Steelers scheme. He's familiar with just about everything they do. I can't think of a better football fit for this team at this point in the offseason.
Yeah, it's you could talk about the Patrick Peterson or whatever. Cam Sutton was the one that made the most sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers, hands down. He's so versatile, just like you said. He's the slot guy. Dante Jackson and Joey Porter Jr. on the outside. And to be totally honest, that's a great three. That's the best three that the Pittsburgh Steelers have had in a while, because you could say Cam Sutton fell off last year in Detroit. He probably didn't have his best year. Cam Sutton's a really good slot corner, and he's been a really good slot corner. That's where he started his career, as the nickel guy / versatile piece. He's incredibly smart, incredibly physical. I think he's got a ton of potential. He's still only 28 years old, maybe 29 years old at the most. I just think the signing makes a ton of sense. Like, you could have your issues with them, and they're totally understandable, and you have to at some point agree with them, but purely football. And as the season goes on, the conversation will become more purely football. Cam Sutton will make an impact for the Pittsburgh Steelers and their defense in a massive way. And I think it solves their last remaining issue. At this point, if the Steelers cornerback room works out the way that it looks right now, you're looking at Joey Porter Jr., Dante Jackson, Cam Sutton. I mean, we'll see what happens with Anthony Averett. We'll see what happens with Beanie Bishop. I'm sure one of those two make the roster. Then you got Darius Rush, who looks like he's taken a step forward. Hopefully Corey Trice, who looks like he's taken a step forward. That's a pretty impressive cornerback room for a group that, 25 minutes ago, we were looking at going, there are some issues, and maybe a guy in Graylin Arnold is an answer. To come in here with Sutton, that's pretty big. Do you think, and I know, there's more to talk about with Cam, but do you think this, when it's all said and done, and there's still a lot going on here, does Beanie Bishop or does Anthony Averett, in your eyes, have a better opportunity to make this roster behind him?
I think Beanie Bishop, just because of the youth. I don't think Averett has been particularly impressive, and that's not to say Bishop has either, but one of them is an undrafted free agent, one of them's a rookie, and the other is a 6-year veteran.
Yep.
I think
who hasn't played in 2 years.
Right. So I think because you have so many veterans in front of him, you bank on the younger talent, I would have to imagine, as opposed to a guy like Averett, who has been a starter before, has that experience, but you got enough of that at this point, I think, especially with Sutton in the mix. Like, I'm going with Beanie Bishop. I'm banking on the upside. I'm gonna give him some time to develop, especially with all these veterans in front of him. I think that's the safer bet for the Steelers right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you could have a very good, I don't know, group of young guys on really all young guys. Like Dante Jackson's not old. Cam Sutton is not old. These are not Patrick Petersons. These are not, Joe Hayden's a couple of years ago or whoever. These are 28-year-old guys who still have at least 2 or 3 years of quality play left in their game. And then you got Joey Porter Jr., who's your superstar, 2 guys behind him who are young, and then Beanie Bishop, who's an undrafted rookie with plenty of potential. That's a great group. That's I agree with you. I think Beanie Bishop is the guy that probably holds the upper hand here. He's got to impress, but you're going to take a shot on a guy who has more potential than a guy who's pushing 30, and isn't capable of or has kind of reached his ceiling at this point where they stand. Massive news for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm guessing this shuts down any Patrick Peterson rumors. I think that most likely puts that.
If they hadn't been shut down already.
Yeah, it's the end of that one. I don't know. Is that the last move for the defense? Is this where we stand with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is Cam Sutton the final piece to this puzzle?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I think you're just waiting on kind of the Hayward domino to fall too on the defensive line. That's really the only thing I could think of. It's getting guys back that you kind of already have in house. So it's Cam getting back to work. It's seeing where Cole Holcomb's at. Like I still think you could use one more inside linebacker. I think Cole Holcomb can be that guy if he's ready. But even then, I feel like you've got enough in Peyton Wilson to at least survive for the first couple weeks until even if Cole Holcomb's not ready for week 1, I can't anticipate. It's like we're waiting until the bye week for him to come back. And I think maybe you add one more defensive lineman, but even then, I think you're fine there. I would expect this is the last major move that the Steelers need to make before the season starts, barring anything completely unforeseen.
Yes, and look at it like this. The Steelers just signed Cam Sutton for a league minimum deal, so that's like $1 million. Let's just say $1 million and change. You are now coming into the final dead period, the month before the month before training camp. You have essentially, I don't know, let's say, I don't know, because you still got to sign Zach Frazier. You just signed Graylin Arnold. You're probably looking at, I don't know, $13 million in available funds, $12 million at the worst after the Troy Fautanu move. You could go get a wide receiver. You can make that happen. You still got space to work with TJ and Minka's contract. You could release some guys. Like you got options. You got a lot of options if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers to go out and make that final move, which is most likely a wide receiver. And this team is, could you imagine if the Pittsburgh Steelers pull off a wide receiver move? There are no questions. The question is, can Russell Wilson be good? That's the only question that's left on this team. Impressive offseason. And to top it off with this one, very impressive offseason.
Yeah, and I think there were different points where we were saying, like, yeah, they made some nice moves, but there's still so many holes that they seem to be ignoring. Yes. I guess we just need to wait a little bit longer. Guess like Omar Khan is never wrong. Just it's just early, I guess, is what we're looking at.
Omar Khan is. Did you see the rankings? I don't know who they were from, but he was like the 30th of 32 GMs the other day, and I was like, I get it. He's inexperienced, and there's a lot of guys who are. Omar Khan is a stud, man, and he does studly things with this team constantly, and you got to give him props. I mean, this is another great one. Have what you say about Cam Sutton, but this is a good move.
There are also some bad GMs out there.
Bad GMs, really bad GMs, really bad GMs. The Steelers have literally, they have done the dirty to the Chicago Bears and Brian Poles twice now, and I don't know where he ranked, but if he was Omar's 30th, he's 31 or 32. That's the answers there. Like, I don't know who's the GM in Denver. Is it still John Elway? I don't think it is John Elway. I think it's somebody new.
Don't think I could tell you. But what also, with Atlanta, signing a $160 million quarterback and then drafting 1/8 overall. Like,
that's what I'm saying. You got whoever's in Cleveland. Like, there's just there's bad GMs out there, man. Omar Khan's killing it. There hasn't been a move yet. That's the biggest thing with him. There hasn't been a move yet with Omar Khan where you've looked at it and went, that was a bad move. Not one. Deontay Johnson's the closest you could get. And I think that's still yet to be seen because the Steelers still got time to make that work and make that happen in the right way. Crazy, crazy, Crazy. All right, we were going to talk about Grayland Arnold coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers and what it indicates.
But, yeah.
Looks like we were spot on with what it indicated. We were pretty locked in on that one. There is one more thing, because we were going to talk about Cam Sutton firing up his house and putting it on the market. And anybody who needed a house, go hit up, I think it's in Jefferson Heights. I have no idea.